welcoming Jason Wood, MP. Thank you so much for joining us, Jason. So, Jason, the Honourable Jason Wood is the Assistant Minister for Customs, Community Safety and Multicultural Affairs for the Australian Government. And we are about to hear about governance, leadership and capacity building. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Margaret, for having us on. And first of all, can I thank Rashidi Somali, Future Voices Gallawah Empowering Change, and the Centre for Optimism, which is so important at the moment. And the young people here today, you're our future, for inviting me to participate in the 4th Nelson Mandela Youth Leadership Summit. It's also great to see the Honourable Victor Burton, who I've had so much dealings with over the years, and is such a great man. When it comes to Nelson Mandela, and good to see you, Victor. I know for young people, you'll be reading about him in books and obviously YouTube and seeing video clips. But as a young teenager myself, many years ago, like Nelson Mandela was just this amazing person who was reported around the world on the news of being incarcerated for standing up against the apartheid regime in South Africa. And the Australian governments over time took their stance. It was normally through sport when it came to rugby tours and cricket tours, and there was big conflict at the time when I think one of the tours actually went ahead. So Australia actually played a very key role in that. But I suppose the most amazing thing I remember about Nelson Mandela, and if you get to see the movie Invictus, is when he came out, and it's actually got Matt Damon, one of my favourite actors, in it. When he came out of prison, rather than being bitter and twisted, and after spending I think 25 years in this small cell, he became I think it was either the president of South Africa, and like I said, rather than being bitter and twisted, he just worked with everyone and realised one of the key aspects was working with those in sport. And I won't spoil the movie, but see the movie, you'll see what close ties he made with the rugby team in South Africa. And we've got similar situations at the moment with this awful situation in Afghanistan and with the Taliban banning women playing cricket. Just seems absolutely absurd. Here I am in my electorate, and I'm giving funding for sporting clubs who upgrade their women change facilities and female-friendly sports, and over in Afghanistan, it's going to be the complete opposite. And just on that issue too, Australia has been very generous in our initial intake of people on visas, or some are actually refugees, but they've had which I wasn't aware of in Afghanistan. For women, most of them don't actually have identification papers. They're being banned or they get destroyed. It's just really sad. So last night I had another Zoom meeting with the Afghan community, and our goal as a government is to bring and support as many Afghan people back in Australia as we possibly can. And every day I'm living that and working with the community groups. And one thing can I say about young people here, I'm going to give you a really key message here. As young leaders, and that's what you are, that also brings great responsibility to you, because if you're the school captain or people know you're involved in this summit, people will look up to you. And so when it comes to your social media, and I know some may not be the age, but getting onto Facebook, it was really interesting. Facebook, the High Court in Australia has made a decision that whoever has a social media platform, which I do on Facebook, and I have 60,000 followers, if someone puts comments attacking someone else, and sadly every single day there's all these negative people and blocking, deleting people all the time, that I'll be accountable. It could even be your own social media. Someone puts aggressive comments on someone else, that you'll be accountable for those comments. And just in saying that, just remember, try to always be positive. I know sometimes it's really hard to do. Don't be the person who goes on someone else's social media and attacks them. I never go on anyone else's social media. Be very careful of the posts you post, because quite often there's every federal and state election. I know Victor Purton would know this just as much as me. Every year we see young people, or at the time they're young people, put silly things up on their social media, which they probably totally regret now and can't even believe they actually said, and it gets used against them in years to come. Now, just a few things when it comes to leadership. And one of my roles in my community, I had a lady by the name of Donna Lee Patman come to me a number of years ago, and it's kind of on the South African theme. And she was telling me how young people, young Australians were going to South Africa, going to conservation parks to help breed lions to go back into wildlife. It sounded absolutely fantastic. I actually met some of the young Australians who would pay like $1,500 a week, a massive amount of money, and have this beautiful lion cub, and they'll be patting it all night as it sleeps with them. But it actually, in fact, it wasn't owned by a conservation park. It was actually owned by the hunters. And the hunting industry was actually releasing these animals each year once they attain the age of 2 years of age, and they'll be shot. People pay lots of money. So I got involved in that. And can I say, I actually took on the hunters in Australia. A number of hunters wanted to bring the trophies back home, but Australia was actually the first country in the world taking the leadership role to ban the importation of lion hunt trophies into a country. And I also followed that up with a ban on bringing ivory products and rhino horn. Again, they were being hunted. And if you take the incentive of bringing the product home, that's where you can make a huge difference. And again, when it came to cosmetic testing, Australia now has probably the strongest response to that in the world. No products can be, cosmetic products in Australia can be tested on animals, and no products coming into Australia can be tested on animals, apart from ones, sadly, which may have been tested a number of years ago. When it comes to young people, my background was in the police force, and when I was in town, I had a number of young people gone down the wrong path, getting involved in crime all the time. So I set up a youth activities group. And then we actually got the referrals from the courts, and these guys got the option, you either go to youth detention centre or go to jail, or they have to put up with me doing a youth activities group. And the first time all the young people come along, and when I say these are pretty tough young people, kids, they'll be swearing and throwing food everywhere. And I let them get away with the first time. The next time I said, if you want to do these activities again, go-karting, seeing the movies, I said to you, you can't do that. And they decided as a group, you know what, we'll stay here and we'll do your activity group with you. It saves us getting in trouble by the police. Within 6 months, most of the people actually disappeared, and they said to the organisers, bring the kids from, it was actually Preston Juvenile Justice, said, what happened? Did they go to jail? We just haven't seen. They said, no, they've all got jobs. And all it was is putting in front of them boundaries, understanding to respect people, and then they went down the right path. And just a few years ago, I was contacted in my own electorate by a lady, her name was Jo, who actually was in that course, and she said it was a game changer for her, which was just so nice to say it changed a lot. So again, as young people, you can lead others. If you do the wrong thing, you'll lose their respect. You do the right thing, you have them for life. And just on that youth activities, in my role as the assistant minister, normally we put funding for safer communities, funding for building and infrastructure, meaning closed circuit TV cameras, maybe at a shopping centre. But in my view, it's never fixing the cause of young people doing the wrong thing. So the great news is I end up, and I had to argue and fight to get it through my own government. That's part of a ministry. You put policy ideas forward. And we end up having $35 million for high-risk youth early intervention. So the kids at school, who are acting up really bad, and you just know they're going to go down the wrong path. Sadly, most of the time they do. So my role is to capture those young people with good organisations right across the country to support those to make sure they don't go down the wrong path. Now, also to the government last month actually released the youth policy framework as an ongoing and extensive consultation with young people in Australia. So you might want to look at that. But just finally, I know you guys are having a lot of Zoom meetings today. Again, congratulations for putting up your hand to be leaders. As I said, again, that also is a huge responsibility. And just remember, the way you act, others would follow. So as leaders, always act appropriately in the circumstance. So thanks very much and congratulations, and thanks for having us on board.
Thank you, Jason. There is a lot of very just down-to-earth advice there, and you're quite right. The young people joining us today, they literally have put their hands up, you know, to be future leaders, and that is what today is all about, is to not just to inspire them, but to provide some thought in tools and strategies. How do you actually move forward? And they've asked some really great questions. We've got a couple of questions for you right now. Yeah. And so if I can invite Nida Bangash, and in the meantime, if everybody else can do what we've been doing, where you raise your virtual hand, and Abby's sitting there waiting, but if we can hear from Nida, and then we'll move forward. Thank you.
Hello. How do you balance all that you up to and also being a local member?
That's a very good question, because I can tell you now, as a member of parliament, people don't understand Saturday night you kind of want with your family, and Sunday night. I get messages Sunday night, Saturday night, and I have my mobile phone out there in my community. So the Afghan community in particular, lately I've been getting bombarded with messages. So one thing that, again, if I love wildlife, as you probably gathered, and this is something for young people. It's a really tough time, all this COVID situation being locked down. Make sure you give yourself time. Always make sure give yourself time where you leave when you get old. You leave the phone behind. Even young, leave the phone behind. Go for a walk. I love in Melbourne going to Hillsville Sanctuary when we can, and I get there, and you know what? I'll leave the phone behind, apart from I have to take some photos. So if you know you're getting stressed, just take some time out. Also, too, if on social, if a person's attacking you and saying, "Nita, you're this or that," just block them and delete them. Don't. There's in the police force, I had a very strong rule. You're never going to win an argument with a drunk or an idiot. So don't bother arguing with them, because it's just going to stress you out, and it just keep going back and forth. So don't put up with negative people. And the other thing is too, I can tell you now, even when I was trying to be a member of parliament, there's a lot of negative people around you saying, "Oh, you never do that, you'll never make it, it's too difficult." Just put those people to one side and just eyes on the prize and go for it.
Yeah, very, very practical advice. Nida, I think you might have another question. I might invite Abby. Sorry, I'll invite Abby and Amelia and come back to you if that's okay. Thank you. Abby, away you go.
I was just going to ask, with your topic on Afghanistan and your involvement in it, what is your take on how we should help the Afghanistan community and do more as a nation?
Okay, that's a very good question. So what the Prime Minister set up is a committee. It's been led by Paris Aristotle, who for those who probably don't know, in Melbourne, he's been helping out victims of torture, refugees in particular, for the last 20 years. So what we did is put an expert for the resettlement program. And for those coming in on visas, they're going to be treated as being on a humanitarian visa. What does that mean? It means if someone's coming on a humanitarian visa, we kind of expect they've got no job, they've got no support, they're going to need a lot more help. So they'll be getting access to Medicare. We'll be helping out with accommodation. The numbers too we'll be looking at, and initially the 2,500 we've actually brought out. And can I say, it's really stressful when you're dealing with people on the phone. Like I've had so many messages this morning. They're dealing with their relatives back in Afghanistan, and they're telling me what the Taliban are doing and how awful it is. And I was dealing with someone again late last night with an orphanage where the Taliban's taken over the orphanage now, and the kids have all had to leave. So Australia has a key role to play. We love our Afghan community, and I've got a strong one in my electorate. And at the moment, it's more about making sure they have information. It's really tough too, because we've issued so many visas, but the airport is so dangerous. People actually can't go to the airport. We're just saying, just hold on, just be safe at the moment. But again, it's going to be like young people like you in the future becoming leaders, and hopefully if you're becoming a member of parliaments or getting involved in helping refugees, which will make all the difference. Thank you for that, Abby.
Thank you.
Yeah, Abby, such a great question. Very, very, I have Afghan friends, as I mentioned earlier, and hearing all those same stories, Jason, it's so upsetting. We are able to write letters, to our parliamentarians, and there are other ways too, and this is to support our Afghan community here in Australia, to help them feel safe, welcome, that they belong, all the things we've been talking about today. Extend that hand of friendship to Afghan people around you would be absolutely just a wonderful thing to do right now. Amelia, have you got a question?
First of all, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us. As a young woman who would like to work in public service after university, my question is, how do you honestly, as a member of parliament, how do you find the working culture in your workplace?
I was in the police force, and you find me, I'm very kind of follow the rules. My office manager is a female. In actual fact, the chief of staff for most of the years, they have been. One of my senior advisors is too. The thing is, what we like, I know we saw the issues up in Parliament, and sadly the most horrendous allegations. So what the Prime Minister's put in place is a few measures, and obviously I'm with the Liberals, and I'm with the government, and at the same time, as the Prime Minister said, it's not like a Parliament issue, it's not like a political party issue, it's actually an issue for all Australians. It doesn't matter whether it's the young guy at the footy club, from the way he behaves, and he needs his mates to call him out. That's the change we need to make. So there's been a few things put in place. Michaela Cash, again, our Attorney General, when it comes to workplace reforms, and put much stronger reforms. So that's now in place. Also, I think it's $67 million were put in place for respect programs and consent, and making sure, again, I can tell you, when I was in the police force, when it came to consent issues, I put young people and guys in jail because they just didn't understand it's not appropriate to give someone 13 drinks and go out with them for the night. You're just getting someone drunk. So, and when it comes to, again, helping women in politics, in actual fact, that lady before mentioned, Donnelly Pappanon, she's actually running for the seat of Casey, which Tony Smith, the Speaker, is retiring from, and I'm trying to help her become the next member up there, just simply because I know how hard she works. And if anyone wants, especially in Melbourne, I've got a women's group going, a leadership group, trying to help get more women in public office. And again, just don't tolerate bad behaviour, call it out straight away. And I think that's what you need to do, and go to a boss. At the same time, for blokes on here today, if you see someone saying the wrong thing, be the hero and call them out. You just pull them aside and say, seriously, that was just totally inappropriate, go and apologise. I tell you what, over the time, I've made so many guys go and apologise for what they've said, and then they realise not to say it in front of me again.
Good on you. Good on you.
You have to be tough too, and this is where the guys, you have to be prepared to stand up. At the same time too, again, in the police force, I've seen the young guy hasn't got a fighting bone in his body. There's an argument taking place at a nightclub. I'm not sure if you still call them nightclubs or discos, between girls. The next minute, this poor guy gets dragged into to save the maiden and getting in a fight, and it's just nuts. So if there's going to be confrontation, my advice, everyone, the hero's the one who saves all the mates, not the one who gets in the fight. And it can be, like I said, it's bad for guys as girls. Thank you.
Great comment. The hero is the one that calms it all down.
Absolutely.
The conflict resolution negotiator. Two very quick questions, as we're always aware of the time. So we'll come back to Nida and then we'll move to Ali. Nida, just one more question there.
I'm interested in politics. If I want to be a federal MP, what should I do?
Okay, well, what state do you live in?
Victoria.
Whereabouts? I won't ask where the suburb is, but I'm more than happy to talk to you off line. I'm with the Liberal Party, so obviously I reckon that's the best party. If you had someone from the Greens today, they'd say they're the best party, or the Labor Party. So you can kind of work out where you fit in. To be honest, I joined the Liberal Party because I didn't think they were doing a good enough job in the environment, and I thought if I get in there, I could make them change. And bizarrely, that seems like a really naive belief to have. But in actual fact, I have got in there, and we spoke about wildlife and those other things. So I think have a look around to see where you're fitting in. You don't have to do it overnight. I know in the Liberal Party we have our young Libs, and I'm sure the other parties do too. But probably just have a look, see where you fit in, and then just get involved. And the only point I keep making is sometimes I see young people get in to political parties and they believe the way they need to act is bring everyone else rounded down them. Can I say, and I tell this to my female leadership group, you want to be the grey person in the room who's not always dividing the whole room. There's no win in that. If I go and make if I make a comment, there could be contentious issues. I'm going to lose half the room every time. So obviously, when you become a member of parliament, you can do that. I'm not saying don't run with your beliefs, but just be wary at the start of not making enemies. It just destroys so many political careers. Thank you. We'd love to have you in the party. There you go.
Thank you, Nida. And Ali, lucky last question for Jason today.
Yeah, so hi Jason. I just had a question. I wanted to know what your thoughts are on Julian Hill's accusations of the Prime Minister's racist approach towards the Afghan community, where he expressed that Afghans who had like tried to sponsor family members from abroad to bring them here, it would actually take them about more than 5 years, whereas if someone had tried to do that from the UK or the US, it would take about 5 to 6 months.
Yeah, okay. I got on really well with Julian Hill. Julian loves making big attention-grabbing statements. The reality is, if you think about this seriously, as I said before, if you're looking at bringing someone from potentially from the UK or US, they have a US passport. It's very clear their background. In actual fact, when it comes to humanitarian visas, we don't take anyone from the USA. We don't take anyone from UK. It's always places like Afghanistan, etc. And over the last 4 or 5 years, I think we've taken 5,000 people. And as we've already seen from the first, probably since the 22nd of August, we've brought home 4,500 people. Now, a number of those people, I personally helped to get visas, in particular, pregnant women, people without visas. So you find that sadly politics gets used in this place and time when it comes to bringing family members over here. I think the proof's in the pudding at the moment. So at the same time too, politicians, we often say things to get a reaction, but in this time I think it's more we need level heads to actually and see what's actually happening on the ground, or it's like you can say things, actions mean louder than words, and the actions are obviously the Australian government's obviously doing all we can to support the Afghan community. And like I said, I've had so many Zoom events with the Afghan community and assisting bringing people out here. Thanks, Ali.
Well, we hope you enjoyed that speech and Jason taking very good questions from the students at this Nelson Mandela Youth Leadership Summit 2021. Look, all the other materials, including the full-length video of the summit, quotable quotes and the like, are available on our website at thecenterforoptimism.com. And you're very welcome if you want to sign up for the free newsletter, or better still, become a member or a subscriber. But we've loved being involved with the Nelson Mandela Youth Leadership Summit, and every year we find it incredibly uplifting. We hope you have too.